I'll deal with emotion first. These kinds of spaces online are places for super fans of your brand. And while there may be other customers there, these are the online community can be the equivalent of a backstage pass to a concert. You get to get a little bit of an inside track on the product or service that you like so much, or you really feel like you're connected or have a sense of belonging to the cause of whatever your nonprofit or organization is all about.
Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with customers. And I'll start it over. Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Ponto. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Todd Nilson. Todd helps businesses and build real communities, not just audiences. As the founder of Clock Tower Advisors, he has worked with global brands, B2B organizations, and nonprofits to turn passive followers into thriving, engaged networks. He's also the co-founder of Talent Led, a platform fixing the broken job seeker experience by fostering true talent communities. His work is rooted in the belief that real connection isn't about clicks, it's about conversation, trust, and belonging. Congrats on Clock Tower and Talent Led, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Carl. I've been excited to have the conversation.
Awesome. So why do companies need communities and not just audiences?
So I think we're at a place where most organizations recognize the importance of customer loyalty, retention, even advocacy for their brand and what they do. And I think that the struggle that many of those organizations have is from the marketing side of things. If they are very focused on just acquisition of new customers, there is a tendency to treat them as audiences that you're just advertising to, bludgeoning with messages. There's a very old school thinking around if I saturate the market with enough messages about me, if I do enough social ads, if I put enough effort and money behind those sorts of things, I'm going to get customers in the door. And that's great, but what are you going to do once you have them? And I think that more sophisticated enterprise organizations, whether they're B2B or B2C, or even if they're nonprofits, recognize that they need to nurture trusting relationships with their customers or their members across a broader journey than all of that. And so the work that I do is to help those organizations build spaces online for the communities that they're trying to engage with, for the people they're trying to engage with, turning them from passive observers and consumers of messages to customers who are talking back and saying what they want or saying what they love about your product, and maybe even recommending others to use your product. And you can do these things with a live meeting or a conference or in-store experiences or sessions. But to really sustain those kinds of engagement, it's better to do it within an online community space, a software or platform, kind of like social media, but not driven by algorithms, a lot more private, a lot more dedicated to a particular purpose or topic.
It makes a lot of sense because it's kind of a well-known thing that you hear a lot, that it's easier to get repeat business from someone than finding a new client. Yet so few companies take the real steps it takes to maintain relationships and to nurture them and help them grow. It's like once the customer or client pays that initial deposit, they just kind of assume, oh, you're just going to be with us because you're using our product, or if you're happy with the initial situation, you'll be happy forever. And they don't put the work into continuing to build on the relationship, or at least not in the same amount of effort they took to bring them in. And if it even just focus on those existing relationships more and fostering and building those, like that communication, that community, it seems like a no-brainer that it would be helpful for the business and lead to more resiliency and have people that have a more of an emotional connection to the brand and not just a transactional one.
I love two of the words that you used, particularly resilience and emotion. I'll deal with emotion first. These kinds of spaces online are places for super fans of your brand. And while there may be other customers there, these are the online community can be the equivalent of a backstage pass to a concert. You know, you get to get a little bit of an inside track on the product or service that you like so much, or you really feel like you're connected or have a sense of belonging to the cause of whatever your nonprofit or organization is all about. And that's really powerful. So much so that one community that I have worked with for some years, the X program, which is part of the Truth Initiative, is for people that are quitting smoking or vaping. And people from that community, one of the reasons I love it so much is they have that emotional resonance. They say, I would be dead if it were not for what this community provides for me. And that's why it's my life's work, you know, to do this kind of connection making for organizations. And then the second piece, the resilience element of it, this is something that I think requires broader, more strategic thinking for organizations. But online communities can provide organizations with better resilience to the shocks of the marketplace. And if you have these kinds of spaces, it's more likely you're going to hear from your customers or your fans about something that maybe has an impact on your product or service, something that's affecting your vertical, or more broadly, economic or political or technological news that can be very disruptive. And by being able to address those things more quickly with your fans, because you have this platform with them, it's making you more resilient to those shocks and changes over time. And as it's a harder to quantify value driver for organizations, but it's definitely one that I think we're going to need to be more and more sophisticated about.
Yeah, I think the reason why companies haven't been focusing on it for the last decade or so is because it doesn't fit into like a spreadsheet, or like there's no KPI for resiliency that they can track. It's such a hard to quantify, and it doesn't fit on a dashboard, that kind of thing. And companies have gotten so enamored with the numbers and the dashboard that they forget about the people behind it, and they forget that there's more intangible values around the brand than just the marketing KPIs and the sales numbers and that sort of stuff. And it's I think it really shows respect for the audience or the clientele, the customers, when companies build these sort of communities that have that back and forth communication, and the ones that do, all these benefits they get from, again, the early warnings of potential disruptions, but also this channel to communicate in a unfiltered or undisrupted or an undistracted way with your most important clientele, and then also have them disseminate the information or kind of share it with people and help market and adapt through the changes. Because no matter how much money you pour into marketing and advertising, someone like a friend of yours saying, hey, this product is awesome, I love it, you should use it, is going to carry way more weight than anything the company itself could tell you. And so having this community of fans supporting your product and your business is going to help weather any sort of disruption, because they're going to be way more trusted to deliver the messages you need them to than your own marketing team.
Absolutely. And think about this, if in your market segment, if you're the only organization that is running an online community for your vertical, um, the trust that you have the ability to build with that is an outsized advantage over your competitors that you have in the space.
Yeah, it's such a, because it builds that emotional connection, that sense of belonging that people are craving on such a fundamental level. We talk about like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing. It's one of the foundational ones, is that sense of safety and belonging, and having these communities of like-minded people that are connected about the common like products or like a cause if it's a nonprofit. That if you're able to provide that, then those people are going to stick with you no matter what shiny offers your competition might flash in front of them to try and woo them away. But if you have this feeling of connection with one brand, you're going to stick there, and it makes, again, the resiliency of your brand way more robust, and it's a lot easier to scale and grow your company on that sort of foundation than what a lot of businesses find themselves working with right now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I feel like I should just clarify too. Question from some of your listeners may be, well, can't I just do this on social media? Can't I do this on my TikTok following or my LinkedIn company page? And just to kind of clarify the thinking about this a little bit, there's a big difference between these large social platforms, which are designed for broadcast and very light ephemeral connection with others, and that are always driven by that platform's desire to keep your eyeballs there, therefore using rage-inducing or emotional-inducing posts or favoring those kinds of posts to get there. The kinds of communities that I'm talking about are separate platforms entirely. They're places that are not driven by algorithms. It's generally the most recent posts are the ones you see first, and they're designed to be safer, more welcoming spaces because you can at least assume a level of benevolence of the other people that are in that space, that they're there for about the same reasons that you are.
Yeah, and it really is creating that safe space online, which is a novelty these days. So
Yeah.
if someone is listening and they go, oh my gosh, my company totally needs this, what are some steps they can take to get the ball rolling on building a community and starting to get this back and forth with their fans?
Yeah. So I'll offer a caveat up front to say, you could turn on a community today, and the platform itself is not the community, and don't dump all of your time into figuring out like a very overbuilt version of what that platform needs to be. You probably already have a community of interested followers. I'll call them friends and family, of the brand, people that, are top customers who you've got a relationship with. The idea that you want to start with is, what is it that you would like people to be able to do in this online space? Like, you can ask people to join a community, but if you don't have a journey for them to go on, if you don't have events, if you don't have resources, if you don't have great discussion prompts, if you don't have other cool people for them to meet, special offers, contests, there's an entire plan of engagement that needs to be made before you open up a space like this. Otherwise, you'll get your friends and family coming into that space, very politely introducing themselves and then never logging in again, which is a great way to waste some dollars, even if you didn't spend a bunch on the community platform itself. Beginning first with understanding the goals that you have for the space, making some educated guesses about what you think your customers or your members would want to get out of that space, and then validating that with some actual conversations. And it's not enough for your marketing team to say, no, we've already talked to our customers. We already have great personas for them. It's a different persona than your marketing customer has. These are the people who are actually using your product, not the economic buyers that the marketers are trying to attract. That might be somebody in the procurement department or someone at the executive leadership level who I can almost 100% guarantee aren't the actual users of the product or service within the company. Ultimately, these communities are for them, and you need to understand what they're trying to solve for.
Yeah, it's makes a lot of sense that there's a abundance of platforms to pick from, and it's not just about picking the right platform. It's about how you build that space well, and how you and the intention you have behind it, and making sure you're communicating that clearly with people so that they end up using it, and it fosters the right sort of dialogues and connection that people are seeking from online communities that they're not getting from other brands or just social media in general, for all the reasons you stated earlier. So do you have any, like, a success story of a company who you helped set up a community for and how that went for them?
Sure. So I'll give an example of a foundation that I did work for. In fact, I consulted with them for a number of years as an advisor. They were looking for a way to promote entrepreneurial thinking among four-year undergraduate engineering students. And so they wanted to create a community of practice for engineering instructors and professors who needed ways to incorporate that sort of mindset thinking into their classroom curricula. And so working with them, we built a platform that allowed for those instructors, those professors, to have a rich profile, be able to connect with each other, have private conversations with each other, as well as have access to a variety of workshops, as well as be able to upload and collaborate on curricula together so that they could share their lesson plans, their ideas with other instructors across other institutions nationally. And so when we built that platform, originally the members of that community, the instructors, they were really interested in kind of a database of those curriculum, which is a very static thing, right? You upload something and then you search for something and download something else. That's great. It's a resource repository, but what we were able to do by talking to the members of that existing community was to design a software experience, a platform where they could have conversations. There was a discussion forum built into the space, as well as this truly unique piece of software that they built where you could create a curriculum, upload PDFs or videos to it, and actually bring in co-collaborators. So you were co-creating this brand new content within this space. And then it was set up in such a way for quality control as to ask them specific questions about how this content related to the core tenets of entrepreneurial mindset thinking. So it was a very successful project. I think that it enhanced the annual conference that this particular organization was holding, and was really a way that built deeper relationships amongst faculty between universities and colleges across the country, and really helped to meet the vision of what this foundation was hoping to do.
That's awesome. It's funny how they're like, we just want a database. It's like, no, that's like the engineer side of it, like wanting just the numbers and the information, but helping see the value of the community and all, like the screening process, and making sure that the curriculums were fostering that entrepreneurial thinking really made a difference. But again, it's interesting how when you talk with your audience, what they think they want out of the community or what they envision it is not exactly aligned with what the people setting it up were thinking. Needs to be that back and forth to make sure that the overall vision is achieved, but also the people that need to be involved to make the vision happen are on the same page and are clearly communicated with. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think of two things with that briefly. Steve Jobs, sort of being the bully designer, with Apple, didn't necessarily do a lot of talking to customers, but just built what he thought he would want, which was great. But I think what worked about that was you end up with a product that anticipates needs that maybe those customers didn't realize that they had. And the other is the old adage of improvisational comedy. You always say yes and. Yes, we're giving you a database, and we're adding a lot of ability to communicate and network and enrich yourself professionally with others in ways that you maybe hadn't initially anticipated.
Love it. Love it. So thank you so much for connecting with me today, Todd. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please like, leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Todd, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.